Cool. Yeah, we're good. All right. We'll bring the meeting to order. We can do number call. Roll call.
Wilson,
Here.
McGrew,
Here.
Martin,
Here.
Christensen.
Here.
Jameson is absent. Hughes.
Here.
Wright is absent.
Everybody's got the agenda. Motion to approve said agenda.
Whole motion, John.
Second there.
I'll second.
And we've got the minutes. Everybody have a chance to review those and have any changes, corrections? On those? Motion to approve. A second on that.
Second that.
All right, those in favor? Okay, now we just have new business, reviewing business, recommend changes to the chapter 27 ordinance.
Yes, so the document that we're gonna look at tonight, I had Augur print out the actual ordinance to you that goes before the Board of Supervisors, and that's labeled Mills County Ordinance Number 25-02. And this is for the additional language where we're gonna add in a definition for an accessory dwelling unit. And then we're going to change that will change the matrix in there, which is table 4.01 for the two-family residential from conditional to permitted. And this is because of the change in the Iowa state law that came into effect on July 1. So that's, and then on point 2 of that ordinance, you see where I added in there where we're going to recodify section 27.2.4a as needed for the new definition. That just allows us to go into that code section in chapter 27 and move those things around to keep the number ordered appropriately for that. We're going to amend table 4.01, which is the use matrix for the two-family residential. And then I always add in that to allow us to go in there and fix minor spelling and grammar errors, because undoubtedly anytime you're kind of going through it again, you'll catch something, whether it could be a comma, it could be a spelling error. Or grammar error, and that just allows us to kind of comb through the document real quick and make those without having to actually call those out. So then it goes on to say section 1, it starts with an amendment, and that is the Mills County Iowa Code B, and the same is hereby amended, and this will be the specific section 27.2.3a-b, accessory dwelling unit, referred to as an ADU. And that is, this will be the actual definition that goes into the code, is a secondary living unit on a single family lot. An ADU contains its own kitchen, sleeping area, bathroom facilities. ADUs are subordinate in size, location, and appearance to the primary dwelling unit. ADUs are commonly referred to as mother-in-law apartments, elder cottage housing opportunities, eco homes, guest cottages, caretaker cottages, or carriage houses. So if everybody is fine with that wording, that's a pretty common definition for the ADU on there. One piece that you will notice in there is that you're not going to see any size requirements on this, and that's just the part where it is subordinate in size to the primary unit. You may have a lot that has a principal home on it right now. They come in and say, hey, we're going to build a secondary house on this property. Say the primary home is 1,500 square foot living footprint, right? And they come in with plans for something that's 2,500 square feet. That is fine, because now all you're doing is changing the label. Is that existing house is the ADU, the new house is the principal dwelling. So in Pot County specifically, we tried this before. We started back in 2015. We put size requirements on there. First, the size requirements were so strict that nobody wanted to come in. They didn't want to build an 800 square foot one. So after a few years, we've tried that. We loosened it. We added some square footage to it. We allowed, if you had more acreages, the more acreages you had acres you had, basically the bigger your guest house could be. Right, so, and then we got up to where you're 1,200 square feet in size. Even then, it was not necessarily spurring any interest. We got some that were coming in, but what you get caught in is they come in with their plans. And in their plans, they're sitting there and you become to where you're negotiating basically, hey, if I move this stairwell and put it out into the garage area, then does that count towards my living square footprint? Can I take my mechanical room? Can I move my mechanical room out into the garage area? And then this keeps us away from all of that. It just says, listen, one house has got to be bigger than the other or smaller than the, however you want to refer to it. One's going to be bigger than the other. So that way you have them on there. The state requirement on there says that you can go up to 1,000 square feet. But again, it keeps us out of being like, I called it the bathroom police at that point in time because we were trying to just go back and forth on it. And so as long as it's subordinate in size, then it'll fit the lot size. Again, I really think septic's going to play a lot into this. You're going to have the room for 2 septic systems to support it. So I think that is okay on that part of it. Section 2 then goes on to the amendments, which is amended to the matrix table. And for you that are here, I printed out a copy of this just to give you reference to it. So it's under residential uses, are 2-family, and 2-family in Mills County's zoning ordinance is already defined out as the use of a site for 2 dwelling units, each occupied by one family in a separate building, excluding a mobile home unit. Now, mobile home unit, again, really goes back to when you look at Mills County zoning ordinance, when it talks about mobile homes, it has to be converted to real estate. You got to remove the trailer, you got to remove the axles, you got to take the tongue, it's got to be set on a permanent foundation. So in the use table under 2-family, where those C's are labeled at, all of those C's change to a P, which is the permitted. There's no more, they don't have to come in and ask for a permitted or conditional use permit anymore. It's just going to be, they can come in and it gets administratively approved through our office. And that's all in alignment with state code. We can't ask them to get conditional use permits. Section 3 of the ordinance, and section 3, 4, and 5, the severability, the repeal of the conflicting ordinances, and the effective date. You will, anytime we do an ordinance, those are on there. The only thing that you don't see in this ordinance that normally goes along with ordinances is a repeal, because there's nothing that we're repealing. There's nothing in there that needs repealed out of the ordinance. It's just, we're just amending to it, no repeals, and then it'll go into the severability, repeal the conflicting ordinances. And then has a signature page on the last one for the Board of Supervisors, which you can see those published dates on there. The published dates and the hearing dates are the actual dates that we're shooting for. The only dates that we don't have would be the publication for it after it makes it through the Board of Supervisors second consideration. Because so once the Board of Supervisors will do 2 readings on this, we'll go in on November 25th, and then we would go back in on December. After their second reading of this, once we publish it in the paper and take it to the recorder's office, that is the official change of the code. Then that's when we go in and the website would get updated with the new version of chapter 27, making us all on board with that. So tonight, what we're asking for in this part of the agenda is just an official recommendation from the Planning Commission that you would approve these changes to chapter 27. Recommendation of approval to the Board of Supervisors.
Does the state have any guidelines with this? So it's okay for them to do this in industrial or highway commercial? There's the state, how does the state take that matter?
The state, if it has a single family home on it right now, you're allowed to have the secondary single family home.
What if you have neither?
If you have neither, then that's when our zoning ordinance could apply, and potentially you wouldn't, if it is an industrial highway commercial, would be caretaker's quarters or whatever.
Wouldn't be, if I would see it there. Okay. Good.
So if there's a house
And one
today,
more.
if there's a house today in industrial, they can add more to it.
Correct.
Mhm. But you can always get, you can get, let's say somebody came in and to get a building permit for a new house in industrial. That would probably be approved also. You think? In an industrial zone in West County?
No, I don't think so.
Make it-
Not according to what we have in the zoning ordinance. I don't think you can have a residential use down
Just if it's already existing.
there. Right.
Did you catch that, Drew and Davis and Joe? You still with us?
Still here, Al.
Yep, still here.
You guys have any take?
I don't see anything that I would change in it.
No, I don't have an opinion on it. So
You had any inquiries on it yet? Of people wanting to do that?
I'm sure that there's existing ones out there that it just kind of helps make legal.
Yeah. I think you might eventually. A lot of them don't know about it, I don't think.
What a lot of people find out is it's hard for financing. They think if, they'll think it's a good idea, where they're gonna, either their kids wanna come out and build a house, or mom and dad wanna come out and build a house. But then they get to where they go to the bank and they wanna get a loan for it, and they're like, no, I mean, it's one person, one family owns a lot. So, mhm.
Matt, how about the shops that they want a building permit to put an apartment in the shop? So there's a residence there. They've got a shop, and then they want to put apartment in their shop.
If they can make it meet building code, they would be allowed to. Because that's one of the parts of the state law is that you're not allowed to put design criteria on there to design it out. So previously too, in the Pot County ordinances, we had a lot of design criteria in there where building materials had to match the principal structure, doorways had to face a certain direction. You're not allowed to assign parking requirements that would keep them from having it. There's a lot of things in the state law that where you're not allowed, the counties are not allowed to, counties and or cities are not allowed to enforce, that would basically not allow this to happen.
They're able to switch to property.
I'm sure it's increased valuation.
We're gonna get you.
Yeah, I know.
It's just, there's two homes, they're gonna hit it as two homes, I would assume. Square, it's not a garage.
Okay, my other question would be going back to that shop house, and you got your house, you got a shop, you got an apartment in
Shop.
the shop. Can you rent that to anybody?
Correct. That's another part of the law, is that
Okay.
you're not allowed to say it can't be rental or dictate who it rents to, or even short-term rental.
So it could be Airbnb, could be anything that they can do.
Yes. Old fella, and he had lived in the second house on the property, and fellas, they're tough. They allow it.
You've had properties already that way.
Yeah.
where There's two houses.
We took a garage. and converted
The
it.
big thing, the big thing in this code, in my opinion, and I know there's not a lot we can do about it, but the big thing in the code is covenants in the subdivision. That's what's kept, the covenants in the subdivision has kept this from happening.
They police those, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, like so that's, so that, but the covenants can't trump this.
No, they can. So if you're in a housing subdivision that has covenants on it, right? They very well may be able to come get a building permit from us. That does not mean you're allowed to build it as long as they have an active homeowners association.
Okay, so that does trump. So the covenants trump.
But it comes from the homeowners
Or
association
HOA.
than the county. we as a county would not be able to say, I can't issue you a building permit for that. Homeowners Association would have to get strict on enforcement and say, you can't build that.
They need to stay active.
Yeah,
So if there's no HOA, it would probably be okay.
Like you said, working HOA. a living HOA. You could put it on their final plat 20 years later if you haven't had any looking for anything. So
That's
that
right.
anything, then they're non-existent basically.
maybe we'll go to sunset.
Yeah, see, I thought this code would trump that. But you're saying the homeowners association would trump the
If they have it in
our
there.
zoning.
Yeah, they can be more, those homeowners can be more restrictive in those covenants and keep them enforced. There's always the risk of them sunsetting or not being.
But in your office, you'll approve it and then the battle will be
We would
between.
have to. Yeah, we wouldn't be able to withhold it because we can't enforce
And
covenants.
we're gonna put in here that it's allowed. So. Covenants can be more restrictive than this document, which is normally the case. But in this case, I didn't think that would trump it.
But do we have any covenants that really say you can't have more than one?
Most covenants say single family dwelling on the residential.
If they
Park
keep it
Place
alive,
Acres.
I mean, there's,
If it's a
there-
one
there's
family.
homeowner associations that were existent when it was platted, but whatever got them built.
But you may have covenants, but you may not have an HOA.
But if they're not, you can't enforce them if you don't keep your HOA alive.
Right.
Ours is.
It's because
Your
you're
HOA
private,
is.
because you're private road.
Mhm.
If you didn't have a private road, it probably.
See, I see HOAs as being
Yeah.
positives.
Those county live
Right?
Yeah. Especially when you're the county attorney.
Right. Well, there's that.
Yeah, so this is, it's good. Well, I will motion to approve this ordinance.
Right, yes.
As stated. No problem with that.
Okay. There's a motion on the table. You got a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All right. We're gonna do roll call vote on this. Or just-
I think you said all in favor, say.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes.
Now, under other business, as promised, I've been able to get you, the battery energy systems code section proposed, there's a draft code section. Okay, but it's a lot to take in and review. I don't know if any of us are battery energy system experts, nuclear energy experts or not, but, I wanted to give you some time to just be able to read through them and see what we're looking at as far as additions. What this will give us is kind of a boilerplate, bare minimum to have on the books for Mills County for the battery energy and the nuclear. And I can't remember if I told you all what the uptick in interest in battery energy in Iowa was or not, but and speaking with a wind energy company, going through some negotiations ongoing with them, they told me that when they repealed the tax credits for solar and they repealed the tax credits for wind, they left the tax credits for battery energy systems. They said that's why now you're going to see more people coming in looking to site these projects for these battery energy systems. So I do feel like it's important to have something on the books for this. This came, both of these came out of Lynn County, who has adopted these. And the battery energy systems is modeled directly after what was added for solar in Mills County and in Pot County. Those two ordinances are almost identical. They both came from Baird Home. So battery energy systems modeled directly after that, other than took out the sections that don't pertain to it and apply for that. So
Explain what they look like. Explain a battery system in your county. What is it? What is it?
that's kind of the hard part about it, Alan. I don't really know what it would look like, other than, I assume that it's a large building that's gonna require transmission lines and things to it.
What would energize
So what's gonna energize it, according to what I saw on there, would either be some sort of other renewable source, right? So we could wind up with a battery system out by that solar farm that they're putting in for Mid-American Energy on the east side of the county. They could come in and propose, say, hey, we want to do a battery energy system next to this because solar is going to charge those batteries. They'll put it out on the grid. Yeah, they said you also find them next to wind projects. And that's the reason the discussions I had, because it's a wind project who was writing in battery energy systems into their agreement. We had never discussed those before. So it could be the wind farm in Pot County could come in and say, hey, we want to add in a battery energy system to go along with our powering.
So store the energy and then release it when needed.
Aren't they underground? Are they underground?
They
No.
look like Connex boxes, the big
Should be.
containers.
This
Yeah.
isn't the ones we talked about in the past.
No, I don't think so.
In Montgomery, at least Montgomery County, are they? Looking at that too, so you have the wind projects going through south of Shannon.
I don't know if they're looking at it or not on that. And then the nuclear energy code. Also, for us to add the nuclear energy code, the one pager that goes with that would be a change that we have to add into our comp plan. That's going to require a two-step process from us. We'll have to change the comp plan and we'll have to adopt the nuclear energy regs as well. Because for nuclear energy, what we're going to do is we're going to create an exclusive use zone. There's not going to be anything in the county that is zoned exclusive use, right? Until a project comes to us. If in the future, a nuclear power energy plant, whatever they wanted to come here and locate, they would find the site at which they want to be at. The nuclear use, the exclusive use zone then allows us to go through, and there's 8 criteria, I believe, yeah, there's 8 criteria that would be in the comp plan that when they would come before the planning commission to ask for the exclusive use zone overlay to be put on them, we would go back and we would look at those 8 criteria that are there. They would also be giving us a large presentation, I'm sure, about why it is that this is the best location for them to be located at. And then if deemed appropriate, then you would offer a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors. Yes, we feel like it's appropriate to zone this property as exclusive use. The only thing in that exclusive use zone right now is nuclear energy generating facilities. Nuclear generating energy facilities we've defined out to mean both of what that new technology is. They're calling them SMRs. That's the small nuclear reactors, the ones that look like a shipping container as well. They're being tested out in Wyoming right now. So it would include both of those facilities in there. Both of, and this is on both of them, both the nuclear and the battery piece of it have a high hazard portion to it just based on the waste that could potentially come from them. You got the lithium batteries that are going to be at the battery place. You have obviously the nuclear waste at the nuclear sites. So there's those issues that are addressed within these code sections on here. A lot of it relates back to, because I would say that we're not going to necessarily be we are not going to be the regulatory authority over them, right? That's going to come from the federal level down. So a lot of it just refers back to that they have to meet those standards. I'm sure that the feds are going to communicate to them. What it does say in there is that I think kind of both of them is that basically the county realizes that we are going to have some sort of emergency response jurisdiction in that area. The nuclear one does contain a host community agreement that would have to be signed. So they would be paying us to be located here. And that seems to be the common factor with these, whether or not and it's not that, a lot of that host community agreement piece has been talked about surrounding a landfill, right? Landfills, we're working with a separate attorney on, but my reading of it is if the county owned the ground, you would get paid a host community fee for that. The county would not have to own the ground on this piece of it. They're just going to be, they're recognizing harm they could potentially do just by being here, so they're gonna pay the county for just being here as it is. They would own the land. The other use that is allowed in, along with, the only other use that's along, you'll see the principal uses on the second page of that is the nuclear energy generating facilities, but the accessory uses to it is list out agricultural uses. Most nuclear, all nuclear plants, I would say, want a large green space that surrounds them. It's a lot of it is safety, a lot of it is security reasons why. So they just want to know that they're going to be able to do some sort of agricultural activity within that zone. So it's listed out in here because that's what it's going to be. It'll be either, green space or it's going to be farmed. So we want to make sure that that's clear in there. These are drafts. All of these pieces are drafts that we've given to you just to give you time to read over it.
You can email these to us.
Yeah, we got it in the.
Okay.
Mhm. I'll just take care of it for us, that way you have an opportunity to kind of read through it. And then we'll come back together in December and hopefully get a recommendation at that time to move these pieces forward to the Board of Supervisors. So that way we can start the process of adoption to add these to the zoning language and comp plan change and zoning change for January. It would start with the Board of Supervisors.
What would be the negative to not adopting it? Matt?
The negative to not adopting them would just be if we do get a project that comes into the area, they're gonna come prepared with what they want you to adopt. And more than likely make a pretty hard push, not only with you, but with the Board of Supervisors to try to get the language that they want at that time. So at least this would give us a basis to operate off of. And then when they do come in, if they have proposed changes or something, then we can put that up against what we do have and how that would affect any surrounding land uses to that.
I do know from being on this board for a long time that, when we start getting some paperwork, it seems like stuff starts showing up for a little while. Like, 10 years ago, there was solar talk. And then,
Wind.
and the drafts with Darren was working on the solar and then it kind of starts showing up in the area. The drafts, does the drafts having it in your ordinance, does it attract it at all?
No, they're already out there. Site selectors have been around for a long time. I mean, we could see something battery wise. I would think you could see something potentially want to come into that mega site area, or even, like I said, close to the solar fields out there. Nuclear, I don't know. I sit in a lot of meetings with the top people from Mid-American Energy and they are watching what's happening in Wyoming. They want to make it clear. They said, yes, we're watching to see what happens out there in Wyoming.
It's the most efficient, it's just the most.
Yeah, we have, on the Nebraska side, it's there. Fort Calhoun's in shutdown or is in the shutdown mode of it. Brownsville, they're got something going on down there. So it's just going to be a matter of what Mid-American Energy wants to do, and it would give us, like I said, this is just a basis to start with right here.
You said both of these were from Lynn County, almost based on.
Sorry, the battery energy is modeled directly after the Mills County Solar Ordinance.
Oh,
Nuclear,
nuclear.
Lynn County. The comp plan changes, Lynn County. They're going through it right now. I don't know if you watched in the media at all or not, but Google has purchased the nuclear power plant that they were shutting down over there in Lynn County. And they're repowering it with an agreement to buy power for it for their data centers that are being built out there. So Lynn County had to go back and come up with nuclear ordinances to add in, and this is what they have.
The data centers, I think they're probably figuring out. We're getting bigger and bigger.
All of them,
Um,
they can't get enough power.
Some of these other,
Is is our solar ordinance, Matt? Would you say anybody has used that ordinance in different counties?
Yes.
Mirrored it.
In what counties do you know?
Hawk County did.
Hawk County took it, said, sounds good, we're gonna use this one.
Montgomery County. When I talked to somebody from Cherokee County, they were looking about solar ordinances.
They tweaked it a little bit, of course.
Up towards Woodbury, because I think they came after ours, after we got ours from you, then they came.
So everybody's working on it.
The COZO group does. The COZO group is the county zoning officials, and they get requests all the time that come out saying, hey, does anyone have an ordinance on this? Could you please share it and send it around? Yeah, what I found interesting though was when I reached out about battery energy systems and the nuclear one of them, nobody would directly send it out. They were just referred to the packets that the board of supervisors received. And so I went to the packets of the board of supervisors and got it out there. Lynn County did a whole website because of the attention that theirs was grabbing. They did a website page specific to it, and there's a lot of information on there about what they were doing.
Well, at Fort Calhoun, I mean, Google could boost that baby right back up. I mean, the way I understand it is the Omaha metro area, I think it's to a point where they don't have the power resources for more data centers.
Not even for housing. OPPD is maxed out. They're putting up generators to power neighborhoods. That's why, starting a few years ago, this happened a couple years ago when OPPD maxed themselves out on what they had going on. And all of this side of the state started receiving a lot more attention to all of these economic development projects that were coming in because Mid-American Energy had just released their power study and they had power to go. And so we started seeing a huge amount of activity on the economic development side to say, you sit on those boards too, because we have the available power here and we have the transmission lines. And now, yeah, there was also, I believe, tax credits given because Mid-American Energy, the large transmission lines that they have, were described to me as right now they're like a 2-lane highway, right? They're good and efficient for what they do, but they're doing an upgrade on those lines. It's going to be a 4-lane interstate. So once they finish with that project, I mean, you're going to see even more activity on those sides because their availability to deliver that power is going to increase significantly. So, yeah, I mean, our side power wise, we're sitting at the top of the metro area where we should be.
We just did the substation out of 250th and Hershey, and then with solar plants going in.
So the substation's going in right now. Yeah.
Is that what they're doing? They're doing the substation first?
Mm-hmm.
I think the Omaha Chamber was having a meeting specifically to go over. They were having somebody from OPPD to talk about issues.
Because then, like the attorney general for the state or somebody's suing one of them because they're going to switch one of their power plants to a natural gas, and they want to stop them from doing that because it's going to potentially lose some power capacity. They have none to lose. Yeah. But
Over my head.
I think this morning they came out and one of the supervisors was telling me there's like a morning newsletter that gets shot out. There's 2 counties that put moratoriums on, 2 counties in Iowa that put moratoriums out for no more data centers because of the water usage that's happening. And there was the old Russ Tell. I always had a quote back to Russ Tell was the guru of wells from the Iowa DNR. He was 40 years probably at the Iowa DNR, had been a well driller, moved into that. And when we were first started getting data centers into Iowa, he was throwing up the red flags at that point in time because he said, they drill a well, but they're only accepting the wells that they can produce like 1 million+ gallons of water out of there. We have glacial till aquifers underneath of us that are so down there that nobody had done studies to know what is the regeneration levels of these wells. Are we ever going to be able to support all of these things that we are bringing in here? And I think, you know, even Debbie Durham at the state level has said that they have completely shut out from incentivizing any more data centers to be located here.
I've also heard that our power is some of the most affordable in the country here,
Could be.
which makes a difference on where you put your data centers probably. Get some
Expanding.
reading material here.
Well, and we do have, so the other part, the other aspect of the battery energy pieces of it, that is if that solar project does kick off down here on the river bottoms, that would be another one that you could potentially see. Battery energy systems. If you're talking about what do we do if we don't adopt, don't adopt. Battery energy systems probably at the highest importance of we need to push something forward on. Nuclear, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what the chances of us are ever getting here. If they finally own that project out there in Wyoming and say, yep, this is the thing, it's proven, then I would say, yeah, we're probably gonna see something.
Explain that project a little bit, the Wyoming project with the nuclear.
Yeah, so I want to say it's Bill Gates is pumping a ton of money into this project that's out there, and it is basically small nuclear reactors and making them work. And it's not like small nuclear reactors are a new thing, right? The VA hospital in Omaha was powered for 50 years by its own nuclear reactor that was up there. You have nuclear reactors on Navy ships, Navy submarines.
Yep.
You know, they're out there, their work. But this idea of it is basically taking it, and it's about the size of a shipping container. And I think that there's even a special on Netflix that kind of shows them off a little bit about how they look like and things. But I mean, it's the most efficient way to power these things, and I think it is just balancing the affordability of startup and running to shut down, right? Because everybody knows these large ones, like at Fort Calhoun, when it originally closed down, is a 50-year shutdown that they have to go through to actually declassify these things. So I think that's what it is basically how do we get it up there and make sure that, you know, you can operate it for a number of years and shut it down and keep the affordability in place to maximize it. But I think one of those containers is like a 3 megawatt deal. I mean, it's a large amount of power coming out of these things that, you know, you see these. I mean, just the amount of space that a wind farm takes up, the amount of space that a solar farm takes up to get the size of the amount of energy you can get out of a shipping container site is going to really make the popularity of solar, as long as they can get it to an affordable rate. There's a lot of people pumping money into getting that technology out there.
Government do.
Well, yeah, that was it. I wanted to get these to you, allow you time to kind of let it sink in, do some of your own research on it to see what it looks like, what you think about it. But like I said, if you're looking at its importance level, battery energy systems, very important. Nuclear, kind of secondary to that. And nuclear, it's obviously we just went through the land use comp plan update. It is an update to the land use comp plan that we have to do. We're creating a whole new district on that just for the nuclear side of it. Battery just will fit right into our zoning ordinance, mirrored off of what our already have done for solar. Just cut down to. And that's all that I have for you for tonight.
I guess just looking here at the battery energy storage, I see we have like, you know, training for local departments, but is there any like support for equipment and stuff like that? Because, you know, just thinking of like how big are these battery storage sites going to be?
So that could come from a development agreement with them to ask them to open up grant opportunities or, make sure that they have the equipment and technology that they need to be able to come and fight a fire like that. It could be that if they don't have a foam rig to help them with the cost of a foam rig, it could be respirators, all of those things.
Okay, gotcha. And I was just thinking, like these lithium batteries, like one Tesla vehicle, it's hard to put that out. So I was just thinking if there was a fire at a site like this, I'm on both Emerson and Henderson's volunteer departments, and even Glenwood, Red Oak, I don't think we'd have, the resources to tackle something like that if there were to be an incident. But it was just something that caught my eye here, just, reading over this here at first. But
I agree, Davis. I think this would definitely be something that the volunteer fire departments pulled up out there. It would be to stand back and just maintain the perimeter around it as the fire did. And it'd probably be to potentially handle some evacuations if it was deemed on the smoke clouds heading from one direction to another.
well, yeah, it wouldn't be offensive, it'd be defensive and just trying to mitigate the spread of, the fallout, I guess, from something like that. But it wouldn't be a good deal, I guess, if something were to catch fire or something. But
Yeah, one or the other. Yeah, it's gonna still.
You know, we did talk about,
Solar.
I thought we need to mention battery a little bit if we get the underground. I kind of remember that a little bit. We touched on it, didn't we, John? I think it was just discussion.
All right, nothing else?
Nothing else.
All right.
Thank you all.
Get it.
Hold on, I'm gonna adjourn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get a motion to adjourn.
I'll motion to adjourn.
You have a second on that?
I'll second it.
All right. You're adjourned.
Thanks for joining us.
Yep.
Jonas.
Yep,
Yeah,
thank
thanks.
you.
Thanks you. Yep.
You-